wondering, address? I have no address. I think the head will work today. But having said that, first I want to thank Hakimani brother and those all who did this research. I've just arrived. I've been out for 10 days, so I was telling them they are very lucky. They are like my brothers. I won't look at them at another side, but like a brother who I have to walk and start doing work. So I told them today I will talk what I'm thinking, what I've always done. I don't like reading speeches because I always say we repeat. We will come here, read what Jubilee government is doing and all that. I think we are moving on. When we are reforming, as Bishop is telling us, that we need to reform with climate change, I think we also need to change some of these traditions that we've had for a while. Having said that, I think first, I want to say that when I looked at the findings, I asked myself that, one, for the last 50 years, we've had the Ministry of Agriculture. We've done so many researches as government, as different institutions. At the university, I think we've done a lot of research in terms of just understanding our country, the issue of food. And I think we've not come out of the box and say that first, we are blessed with food, but the challenge we face as Kenyans is how do we take care of this food? And I always go to a market back home and I look at our mothers after harvesting, not even at the market. I know some of us who come from the land where we have a lot of maize, and you find mom going to the market with what we used to call the debe or gorogoro, the 2 kilos or the 20 kg sack of maize to go and sell. At that time, because she's so desperate, mom will sell this gorogoro at 8 shillings, and the broker who is buying will give you only 3 months for you to go back to him or her, and you'll buy the maize at 90 shillings. So the question now comes back, what really happens when we are harvesting? Is it that we have never thought of having maybe a policy to ensure you harvest and try and create that awareness that in the next 3 months, the same harvest, somebody will come and buy from you at 90 instead of you selling it at 8 shillings. Or even doing a barter trade, because I know we used to see even our moms doing barter trade. So because we've had a lot of maize and we've been eating ugali, so what do? Mom will exchange with rice now. So you give a lot of, you can even give a whole gunia, because now this guy who is broking you is telling you, look here, the maize is cheaper than rice, so you have to buy it at this price. So those are some of the challenges we face now in reality on how we look at food. And that's why in Kitale you'll have a lot of maize, but in Turkana, they'll be dying of hunger. Now when I look at my bill, when I went to the Senate, I asked myself, how fast do we deal with food security? And not the food security of agriculture, of telling me you need 1 million acres. No, before we get there 1 million acres, how do we sustain the little we have? So I looked at this, I looked at Article 43 of the Constitution, and I'm like, okay, it's talking about the government taking care and ensuring even the dependents are being taken care. So I was like, how do you take care of that? So I've went to the university, Nairobi University, said, fine, we've done this research. It's on food security in 20 counties. In Kenya today, we talk about in every home in this country, 10 million people sleep only having had 1 meal. And in most cases, 7 million will sleep without a meal, what we call a meal. So when they gave me this research, I went through and I said, no, I think we need, something needs to be done differently. So I've proposed this bill, and I know already it has a lot of political debates, which sometimes I get very worried with how we look at our country and how we transform everything into politics. And that is one thing that will kill our country. That is one thing that will always bring down our country. And some have decided, no, it has to look this way. And so the amendments are so many. And then what I intended to achieve, or what the country intended to achieve, might not be exactly, but I'm just hoping as we move on with the politicians, we'll be able to get the right on how to ensure food production is done in a manner where when I have food in Kitale, my brother in Turukana is able to get that food. I am able to get the bananas from Muranga going somewhere else, and the mangoes from Tana River getting to Muranga, but in a manner that is viable, in a manner where government, from the structures of the national government to the county government, are monitoring and they are responsible. The other thing I looked at and I said, we also have a challenge as Kenyans, that we believe the law must make us move from one level to the other. And we have so many laws that sometimes even confuse ourselves. But it's because that's the way we are. First of all, we like really challenging each other in something that was just supposed to be done, and we move on, we make it an issue, and it becomes a serious issue. But as Catholics, because I always stand back and I say, as a Catholic who has gone through the social justice system, who has worked within the human rights perspective, and you have seen how people will come to church, some of them who have not eaten, and you'll see how Father will have to struggle to ensure they have food, they have how do we deal with this? Then it comes back into my mind and say, no, as a Catholic, then I have to look at it also in a different dimension. And I have to bring out a very different thing, and whether I'll be left alone, but I'll have to stand and say, no, this is how we must manage our country. Today, our country, we have cut land into some small pieces of acres. When my father has 10 acres of land, and he has 5 sons, but nowadays even daughters are saying, give them. So you split this land into 1 acre, and then everyone builds a bungalow there, and then what do you eat? But if you come today, as Adan was talking about change and the bishop, and tell Kenyans, look, is there a way we can agree that we have a policy where when you have 10 acres, don't split it into 2 acres. The highest you can go, or the lowest you can go, is 5 acres, for the sake of that food security. If we are not going to do that for our country, if we are not going to have what other countries are doing, and that's why they are comfortable and they have food, that you agree, have a settlement somewhere, let people live there, and others leave their farms for agriculture, then we are talking, but we are not going to achieve, because we don't have that land to till. The land remaining back home is 1 acre, 2 acres. And those who have and Kenya, land is like the only thing we have. That's why we kill ourselves with land. But then I believe young people who are wondering why we kill ourselves with land can transform that and can bring us to another level where we can say, it's not just land. We are not just talking about tilling this land, but how do we transform it to make sure our country forever will have food for our brothers and sisters and generations to come. The other thing I look at Kenyans and wonder is, we never think of tomorrow, and I'm sorry to say that. Reasons, when I want to have it all now. While we have countries in Sweden and Norway, they will tell you, We have resources that we have not touched and we are not touching for the next 100 years. Today in our country, we want to look at all the natural resources and ensure they just come out so that I become a millionaire in one day. And that's what our young people are wondering, what the hell are you talking about when I need to be driving in the next 4 months? But we need to ask ourselves, is it going to help the country for future generations, for our children to really be proud of being a Kenyan? Until we agree that we must have change, change is pain. Just the way we said the new constitution, when we were campaigning for that new constitution, a few of us kept on reminding people, remember, it removes you from a comfort zone and it puts you to a level where everyone becomes a Kenyan and everyone now starts feeling, I am a Kenyan and I must benefit. But then again, what did we do wrong? While we were trying to campaign and say, bring in people who have not been in politics for a while to transform, to move on with this new dispensation, Kenyans, because of food security and lack of food, took 50 shillings, brought in a leader. Today again they are crying. Again, we are on a verge of looking at it at a different level. But we will only achieve until we agree. Change does not just start where we think, government. Change starts at home. How do you take care of yourself, your family, your mother, your father, in terms of food? Are you the person in Nairobi who eats very good food, throw it in the dustbin, and maybe back home, mom is going to sleep because she doesn't have food, or she only has starch, which she will eat and sleep? Or the little boga that she has done in a garden back home? Those are some of the things we need to ask. How do we ensure we come in and change our minds? That when I'm having food, and we had that prayer today, that while I'm going to eat, I know there are some who don't have. Start it at home, that when you put food on the table, even my young daughter who is 6 years must understand there are those who don't have. So it's a privilege when we are having this beautiful food. Therefore, we must eat it, but remember, we cannot just throw it. We even have others. When we talk of food security, people think it's the big granary where you will start everything. No. I always tell people, what about your watchman? Why are you throwing food when I know, even if he's not your watchman and he's on that gate, why can't you give him that food instead of putting it in the bin? But many of us will put it in the bin. So if we want to talk about food security, if we want to ensure the farmers we are talking about, how to assist them, then we must start first, safeguarding the little we have. We must start going back and looking at the woman who went with tomatoes in the morning. A crate was going at 700. She has tried to sell, she could not sell. It has reached, at this hour, she has come down to 200. Still, she has not gotten somebody to buy. And there's that clever one who knows by around 5, that tomato crate will be 50 shillings. Because this woman is desperate, she's supposed to walk 20 kilometers back home, and she has nothing. So what does she do? Chukua tu na shilingi 50. And comfortably a Kenyan takes, without knowing now you are stealing from someone. Because you are not going to sell it at 50 shillings. You're going to sell it at 1,000 shillings. And that's when we talk about corruption within the same system. And that's why I always remind my brothers and sisters, don't talk about corruption about the billions. Talk about corruption of how we've even started from the small things we've done. That is what has killed our country. That is what has made our country where land, you thought somebody comes. And I was looking at Kilifi and I was very worried that you in Kilifi, a person in Kilifi sold to someone land, maybe not more than 100,000. But today you're so proud, you come on TV and you say, Now it is 50 million. What you have just done, you have just blown that community, and the hatred that starts from there is so vicious that they will not even care if they burn it. Because they'll say, after all, alituipa. So for me, when I look at food security, and why do we do that? Because of the hunger we have. As Catholics, we know, before you even talk to anyone, if that person is hungry, they will not listen to you. If we did not go for lunch, we will not be here. I know some of us will be looking, for those who are diabetic, they'll look for Fanta, a banana. For those who are hungry, like us, we'll go look for something to bite. So your mind will not even be there. And that's why when we talk of food security again, talk of your mind. If you want a productive nation, that nation must be able to satisfy its citizens with food. That's why in China, they work hard. Why? They have food. What have they done? They have preserved land, made sure they've built those skyscrapers that, as Kenyans, if we go there, we'll think they are mad people, because you wonder, what the hell are you doing in a skyscraper? It's because all of them have secured their land is for agriculture, and therefore we can live here together in a community and do everything in a small portion, but our bigger portion takes care of what will make us be healthy, what will ensure the future of our country is still there. But for Kenya, I would rather build a house on a 5-acre, finish it, and then the rest I will buy. Because I have money, I'll buy the food. But 10, 20 years to come, 30 years to come, we will see the effect of that. It's going to hurt us so much, and we will start now importing food instead of exporting food. And which we are doing now with rice and the rest. But we can do rice very well. We can do ndengu very well, but we are importing. So these are some of the challenges that we need to look at. And if we are really serious that we need to look at these findings and assist the farmers and do what is rightful, then we must start change with ourselves, and we must start a campaign where we will say, let no Kenyan sleep hungry. Campaign of zero hunger completely. When we start that, and if we can achieve that, then the rest will come in, the rest, the country will be productive, we'll have less insecurity, we'll have less people doing idleness and thinking of drinking, and because everyone will have something to do. And then now we talk of quality of production. That way, we will achieve really what we want. With those few remarks, I want to say thank you very much, and I believe we will move on, we will forge on together as one, looking at the findings and seeing how we can support the farmers. And we hope, as the President goes for the UN meeting where he's going to talk about climate change and environment, that these are some of the things, especially on food security, he's going to talk about.